So the seven critical steps to branding success. Obviously, not all the steps necessary, but these are the basics that I formulated. There's so many ways to connect with people these days, right? You need two-sided business cards to put all your contact information. That's how you can get a hold of me. A logo is not a brand. There's a lot of confusion about branding, brand versus branding versus a logo. A logo is the identifier that identifies your brand. So it's the visual shorthand, if you will. Standing on its own, it's a mark. It doesn't have the power of a brand. When you think of some of these brands, hopefully it triggers an emotional response. That's how you know that the brand is successful, right? Harley Davidson, you have a much different response emotionally than you do Apple or Google. If you're a PC person, you wouldn't have the same emotional response to Apple as you would someone like me, an Apple fan. So some of the definitions of a lifestyle is a big one, especially for Harley Davidson. They're selling a lifestyle, they're not selling two-wheeled vehicles. Same with Apple. Experience, expectations, what you expect when you use that brand or interact with it. It's really a story. The owners of the brand are telling a story, and they hope that you believe it. I can't believe that that's actually their tagline. I didn't make that up for Harley. They did that in 2008 for a new ad campaign. I thought it used to be live to ride, ride to live, and don't be evil. I guess that's a slight on corporate America. So here's three brands. Coca-Cola is the #1 valued brand in the world, #1 recognized in the world. Their closest competitor is down around 40-something on the list. So quite a bit of difference in value on Coke. They've had 100 and some years to build that value. Who even knows who RC is anymore? Can you even find that in the grocery store? I don't know if it's even there. I don't see it. I don't recognize it. It is. So tough for that. With that other tough competition. And along comes somebody out of the blue. After 105 years of the other colas competing against each other, now people start making it at home. What does that do to their evaluation? So #1 on the list, competing for brand. Your competitor. Who are your competitors? You want to see who your competitors are in the world that you're competing with. Here are some examples. I think of Fad logo design. Redondo Beach, I don't know why, has 3 there that are about the weakest. It really makes the Manhattan Beach logo jump. It makes it seem a lot more professional. And so here's a good comparison. #2 would be recognition, brand recognition. The other ones you probably don't even recognize, but these bottom 4 you definitely do. And in contrast, you can see the much nicer design, world recognition, all in the same location. They're all in Redondo Beach area, Hermosa Beach. So it's basically, it's about how your brand stacks up against your competitors. This is the new logo for the Brooklyn Library. Not sure that it's appropriate to use slang or shorthand for a library. The previous one was to the left, the center one's their new one, that's the building. I guess people, in Brooklyn, New York, get it. Pizza shops and plumbers use that shorthand, but I don't know that it's appropriate for a place where there's got books of reference and facts. I think it's a poor choice. Their audience is broader than just Brooklyn. So it's about defining your target audience and not shorting yourself by thinking that everyone gets it. most people that grew up on this side won't even understand what the shortening would be. It's booklet, it's not even, there's no R in it, so it's playing off their accent. There's about 110 years of Ford. You can see once they got to the oval, it's just every couple decades they tweak the oval, clean it up. McDonald's is funny. They threw that clown in there at some point to, I guess, to attract new customers like kids. But when they started their logo, that little funny-looking guy there, chef. Speedy. Oh yeah. So it's funny that didn't turn into a logo or its mascot. So they basically created the arches from the building construction itself. So here's an example where the brand followed the building construction as opposed to being pre-thought. They didn't really have a logo in the beginning there except for the speed. The Apple's first logo was short-lived, but since then, it's like Ford, they just keep tweaking the same design. So here's a real-world example. I designed the Visitors Bureau logo in the late 80s. The Chamber's logo was below it, and the new president decided that was too good old boy looking. So she wanted a new logo. Also, the reason was the Visitors Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce were combining, and so they needed one mark to stand for both. So that was my rendition in the center. And now recently, a couple of years ago, they developed that last one on the right. Seems to me they're going backwards, right? Look how many elements and how many font choices, and it's never going to reproduce at a small size. A logo's got to be readable, recognizable from a postage stamp to a billboard. So I don't know who, I would have loved to have been there when they pitched that. Another real world example. So we're down to brands merging. The logo on the bottom with the black background, that was the original antique apparatus. They started out as antique restorers, and they found a niche in restoring and then rebuilding the old Wurlitzer style boxes once Wurlitzer's patents ran out in the 70s. So they hired me to do the one above it with the wings, and then in the late 80s they bought Rockola, and once again needed a new brand identifier, and we went for an interim usage here. I designed this from old logos they had used in the past, and then after it was established that Antique Apparatus was the owner of Rockola, they dropped the Antique Apparatus. And they liked the wings, but they wanted it modified and with the new identified mark. Rockola's known worldwide. It's synonymous with jukebox. So the reason they bought it was they bought licensing to use the name just for the jukebox line. So the original company kept the mark for their vending machines. So they paid a couple $100,000 for the use just for the jukebox line, and then has since subdivided their portion of the brand to their competitor, who's now using it for the commercial line. So they've made their money back. And so this slide's talking about building your brand equity, and like previously mentioned, they spent a couple $100,000. They got more than that back, so they sold a quarter of the use of the brand and made their money back. Pretty wise investment, plus they gained the world recognition. So this is an example of a power brand, and a powerful brand can position your price point advantage. So why would somebody pay $5 for a cup of coffee if you can make it at home for 50 cents? Once again, you're buying into that lifestyle choice. When people go into Starbucks that enjoy Starbucks, they're rewarding themselves. You go to a coffee shop or the grocery store, a convenience store, and get pretty much the same cup of coffee for 2 cups for half the price, right? So they're charging price point premium because of their powerful brand. And this kind of hits the point on the head. I actually remember, I'm old enough to remember a grocery store that had molasses, honey, and pickles in a barrel where you go and you fill your own container full of the product. No packaging, no brand, no recognizable, no familiarity, one barrel to the next. Taste can change completely. So, the power of a brand is the familiarity and promise that it's going to be the same each time. Can't imagine anyone drinking a generic beer. And can't. Life is too short. So, the price that you spend for your logo and brand development is not what makes it valuable. Here's an example I used last presentation: $211 million for a logo. Now, it's probably for the brand development as well, but it was written as just for the logo. Incredible amount of money doesn't make it that much more valuable because they spent more for it. Here's some of the actual values for 2012. You can see there, Coke is number 1, Apple's number 2. A lot of these are in the top 10 almost every year.
The percentage of sales growth that year, last year?
That's right. Improvement, yeah. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for your attention. Answer any questions at all.